My team secured the second place nationally out of 543 case submissions at the B Tribe Case Challenge. I broke down our entire journey from the moment we read the case to the point where we were declared winners. And I came up with a 7 step framework to crack case competitions. That framework is something I'm going to share with you today. So, without further ado, let's get started. Step one is case reading and defining our objectives. So, the goal here is that you shouldn't just skim the case, meaning just ऊपर से नहीं पढ़ना है. You have to read the whole case in detail at least 3 times. Because what happens is, in a single reading, you might misinterpret a few points, but repeated reading helps you clear all your doubts and get a very good grip on the case. So, in the first step, here are 3 main points I need you to follow. The first thing is, I need you to define your own version of the objectives. Meaning, what is it that not just the case wants you to solve, but also what are the hidden sub problems or hidden objectives that your team specifically is going to target. So, that is the first point. The second thing is, I need you to predict second order problems. So, basically, second order problems are those that could arise from solving the first order problem. So, the first problem that you will solve, it will lead to new problems, and these problems should also be solved. These are the second order problems. So once you start recognizing these second order problems, your jury or your judges will see that you have shown some level of depth and foresight into your thought. So that is the first big thing. Now एक simple example लेते हैं. There is a hypothetical company which is known as Chai Bazaar. It is a premium cafe chain in India, and the problem that they are facing and that we have to solve is that they have been seeing a decline in tier 1 city outlets, declining footfall in tier 1 city outlets post COVID-19. And the management wants to explore new revenue streams, meaning they want to increase their revenues, but we have been given a constraint. That means we cannot expand the physical outlets. So that is one thing. So now let's implement the first step of our framework on this small and simple business problem. The first step is we read carefully. The company wants revenue growth, but not via more outlets. So what are the main goals that we will take care of? The first thing is we identify new revenue channels, यानी नए तरीके जिससे हम revenue बढ़ा सकते हैं. Then we retain existing brand image. तो जो brand की image बनी हुई है, we cannot do something that goes against that particular brand image. And then we have to ensure minimal capex. Capex मतलब capital expenditure. So now all these जो objectives थे वो कहीं पे case में directly mention नहीं थे, but we read between the lines and we discovered these objectives. Now the next big thing. Here is where I want to bring in the concept of customer persona. This means that you need to identify who exactly are you solving this problem for. So इससे क्या फायदा होगा? This will help you get clarity on the rest of the strategy. So how does a customer persona really look like? You create a fictional name, for example, Bhavna, a 23-year-old urban working professional. So you decide her age, her location, her income level, and so on, and her preferences like premium chai, convenience, sustainability, and so on. You can write her behaviors as well. For example, she orders food online 2 times a week, and she follows food brands on Instagram. Now, this entire slide deck could be a part, this entire slide of the customer persona could be a part of your slide deck. Now let's jump on to the next big step in our framework. So हमने objectives figure out कर लिए, but इन objectives को achieve कैसे करना है? Hence the second step in our 7 step guide is that of research. यहाँ पर एक simple तरीका follow करेंगे. First we start with secondary research, then we go into primary research, and then again we do secondary research. So I'll briefly explain what primary and secondary research is. Primary research is something that has already been done. Secondary research is something that has already been done by someone else, and primary research you are going to do yourself for the sake of this particular project. Now, coming back to what I was saying earlier, what I was saying is secondary research comes first. So here we understand the industry, we understand the competitors, we understand the product category, and for this we read the government reports, we read the company annual reports, skimming or reading through some credible news sources in order to do our secondary research. तो इससे होगा ये that we'll be able to know that which direction the industry is going in and what are the latest trends that we can leverage to support our solution. The second part is primary research. So here we talk to real people. We conduct focus group discussions, we conduct one-on-one interviews, we conduct informal chats, and so on. But the main point is we have to make them meaningful. Even if we are conducting Google form research, we have to make it meaningful. We have to make sure that our responses to those forms are genuine. So finally, you loop back to secondary research to validate what you found and gather data to back up your solution. So now let's apply this step to our business problem of Chai Bazaar. In the secondary research, you will try to find competitors of Chai Bazaar, and you will try to find out their digital or non-store revenue models. Then you go into the primary research, you will talk to customers, you will ask them, do they even want chai delivery? You'd ask them, do they want tea subscriptions, and so on. So whatever your ideas are, you try to pitch to them and see if they're receptive to it or what kind of solutions do they prefer. So that is the end of the second step, which is that of research. Okay, the next step that we have to do is we have to brainstorm the solution. So मैंने एक लाइन सुनी है about brainstorming is that brainstorming is structured chaos. So these two things would normally not go together, but here they do. So how do we go about brainstorming? You take a blackboard or you take a blank Google Doc and the whole team gets together and just dumps all the ideas on the board. यहाँ पे एक important चीज़ है, the group members need to do their homework, meaning the members need to think of ideas before meeting up for the brainstorming session. So I don't want the team to think of ideas together, because here what happens is when a group thinks of solutions to the problems, they generally end up going in the same direction. So we don't end up getting that diversity of thought when the entire group thinks together. So right now all different ideas are in front of you. Next thing you need to do is something that is called a litmus test, meaning test every solution for mainly four criterias. Your solution needs to be first is feasible, meaning it should be possible with the funds that are available with the company. The next thing is your solution should be realistic. You can't just throw in unrealistic solutions. For example, you can't say ki make a time machine to solve the problem. Whatever you are saying should be possible with the help of the current technology. The next thing is you need to align with business context. इसका simple मतलब है the solution should align with the brand image. So you can't go ahead and recommend कि Colgate should start manufacturing defense equipment. That is something that is not possible. Finally, the solution should be scalable, meaning it should be scalable geographically, meaning it should have the potential of reaching a lot of people and a huge amount of area. Additionally, there is also something called as a time-based scalability, meaning you show that you plan to roll out some features over a period of time. So it tells the judges that you have done some long-term planning as well. So in our chai example, what could be the interesting solutions? One that can be easily thought of is a chai based subscription box. That is one thing. Then in year 2, you can go ahead and recommend that we will add regional flavors based on customer data. In year 3, you can introduce AR based virtual chai workshops. तो ये सब चीजें सोची जा सकती है. So these steps are not just innovative, but they are also realistic and practical to implement. Now let's jump on to step 4 in our 7-step framework is that of representation in slide building. So we have to here present our ideas in a slide deck effectively. How do we do that? Here I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. We need a lot of practice with Microsoft PowerPoint. A lot of people have asked me which software I use to make the slides. The answer is the OG Microsoft PowerPoint. It has the most amount of features and you have to master this software through practice, or if needed take up some online courses. However, I do have some pro tips that can help you with slide building. So the first pro tip is that you need to prioritize flowcharts, infographics and different models. For example, a marketing, financial, operational and so on. So if in our example, we can show the ideas something like this. We go from idea to manufacturing to packaging and then to delivery. So for example, this could be a marketing case comp. This particular framework can be followed. The second pro tip is that we need to use footnotes or appendix for raw data. So we don't want to clutter the main slides. So we need to use an appendix so that we can show our research later on. Third pro tip is that I need you to keep your slide design clean and minimalistic. There should be no rainbow colors or heavy graphics. We need to use one color palette in order to show uniformity and storytelling throughout the entire slide deck. The next thing is one sliders are very important. We need to master visual storytelling with arrows, blocks, mockups and impact driven bullet points. तो इसका एक example ले लेते हैं. Let's say you show that there is an estimate of 10,000 customers. You multiply that by 400 rupees per month and you show that we will get, let's say, 4 crore annual revenue. So that is one thing. The main thing we need to do is where we need to impress the judges, and the judges may not always be from an MBA background. The judges are going to be from a diverse background. So your solution needs to be simple to understand. And if a layman cannot understand it within the first 30 seconds, the solution and the whole presentation is not going to stick. That is your fourth step in winning a case competition. The step 5 in the 7-step guide is that of hypothesis testing. This sounds fancy, but the idea is simple. A hypothesis is an educated guess that you make, and the hypothesis testing means that you test whether or not your guess is correct. So now how do you test or how do you hypothesis testing? How does hypothesis testing work in case competitions? We need to go back to our primary research sample. So basically the people who filled your survey or the people who you interviewed, and you present your idea to them and you ask them, whatever solution we have thought, does it really solve your problem? Would you adopt this solution, yes or no? And what are the concerns that you have? So you should use their feedback to either validate the solution that you've thought of, or you should tweak your solution. This step will show the panel that you have gone the extra mile. Now comes the pro tip. You can even add a half slide with quotes and testimonials from this feedback to strengthen the solution that you have thought of. So that, I shouldn't be telling you this, but I am. So this is one thing that you can do. Now let's jump on to the next step. Step 7 is your implementation plan. A great idea should walk on real world legs. Your implementation plan should include an operational plan. So how exactly the product or service will be executed. It should have a marketing plan, for example, the way you are going to spread awareness about the product. Then it should have a financial plan, meaning it should have cost breakdowns, revenue projections, payback periods, and so on. Then there should be a business impact. So there should be both customer impact and bottom line impact. So bottom line impact is simple. Basically, what will be the impact on the profits of the company? But again, not all case comps would expect everything from you. The one in which my team and I specifically participated, we were only expected to work out the finance side of things. So that is yet another thing about case comps. Okay, step 7 is the easiest of all, but it is also one of the most important. This is the step of final check. Before your submission, perform a quality check like your life depends on it. I need you to proofread for grammar. I need you to proofread for typos, formatting, and everything under the sun. I need you to cite all your sources, especially if you are quoting some secondary research. I also need you to ensure story flow and readability from start to end. Next thing is get it reviewed by a third person, someone who is, especially someone who is not from the team, and maybe a senior. Then if they will be able to tell you if the story makes sense or not. And this final check, that it can prevent small errors that ruin otherwise great work. From my side on the 7-step framework to crack case competitions. With that said, you can find a lot of these case competitions on Unstop. That is a site that has a lot of these different case competitions popping up. In addition to that, if you are going to be starting your MBA, I need you to understand that these case comps, the news about these case comps keeps on coming in different WhatsApp groups. So it's really not going to be difficult for you to find these case comps once you start your MBA. So that is the first big thing. With that said, I'm going to be starting my MBA journey from the 9th of June, and I would love if you guys can wish me luck. I don't know how the first 3 months are going to shape up, if I'll be able to make content or not. I hope I'm able to, but let's see. I really don't know what's gonna happen, and but definitely I'll be making more as soon as I get even a little bit of time. With that said, that's a little bit from my side, and bye bye.